Third, Chris Hipkins.
I don't know how to turn it on. There we go. I think the microphone's working. I tell you what, Mr. Chair, though, it may be karaoke night here at Parliament, but there's no one singing from the government song sheet in the education sector this evening. Nobody in the education community is happy with this national government tonight. And the people who are most upset tonight are the people who have had debt collectors set on them by Stephen Joyce. Because to rub salt into the wounds, having not been paid, having been overpaid and underpaid, and having had Stephen Joyce talk to them for 6 weeks maybe now about how he was going to get the problem solved, Stephen Joyce's idea of solving the problem has been to stick debt collectors onto people who have been overpaid. And I am aware of at least one teacher in my electorate who was overpaid by NovaPay one fortnight. The fortnight later they were underpaid. And now they've got debt collectors chasing them for the overpayment, and they rang me up and they said, am I allowed to send debt collectors back the other way for the underpayment that I got in the following pay period? No, they're not. Are they allowed to send debt collectors to Stephen Joyce to find out where their KiwiSaver payments have gone, the ones that have been deducted from their paychecks but never paid over to the KiwiSaver providers? Are they allowed to send debt collectors to the government for that? Apparently not. What about their child support payments that the government have taken but haven't paid over? Should they be sending debt collectors onto the government for those? The heavies. That's right. The national government put heavies onto people. It's through no fault of their own. Bear in mind, these people didn't claim this money. They didn't take the money. The government just gave it to them. And in some cases didn't even tell them that it had given it to them. They just put extra money in their accounts. It's Christmas time. Very convenient to put extra money into someone's account at Christmas time. Some people didn't even know they'd been overpaid, and suddenly the government turns around to them and says, oh, pay the money back, pay it back right now, and if you don't pay it back right now, we're sending the debt collectors around. What a disgraceful thing for this government to do. It's absolutely offensive that having made this mistake, having overpaid people who have in good faith gone out and spent that money not knowing they'd been overpaid, for the government to now put debt collectors onto them is absolutely shameful. And I'm not surprised that every member of the national government is hanging their heads in shame right now and have nothing to say about that, because Stephen Joyce, with 6 weeks in the job, fixed NovaPay. Oh, Maggie Barry, comment on this. She wasn't underpaid by NovaPay, so according to Maggie Barry's standing orders, she should just sit there quietly, because she's not allowed to comment on this. But I'll tell you what, Stephen Joyce said he was going to fix the NovaPay problems. 6 weeks on, he's telling them that there's 3 months to go before the NovaPay problems are going to be solved, and he's still putting the debt collectors onto people. A competent minister, a minister who was actually getting on top of this, would have said to his ministry, whatever you do, don't send debt collectors onto people until we actually know what's going on, until we actually know whether they've been overpaid, underpaid, whether they owe us money or whether we owe them money. But oh no, that hasn't stopped Stephen Joyce. He's still got the debt collectors going onto people to collect money that they've been overpaid, and that's an absolute disgrace. But of course, this government have absolute contempt for people working in education, and they have contempt for the New Zealand public, not willing to tell the New Zealand public why Leslie Longstone got a $425,000 payout. Oh no, and when Jonathan Coleman's asked about that in question time today, what's Coleman's response? Well, how should I know? How should I know? That was his actual answer. How should I know? That's the Minister of State Services, the guy who's responsible, the guy who actually signed the paycheck, effectively saying, when asked why it was she got the $425,000 payout, his answer was, well, how should I know? That shows an absolute contempt for the New Zealand public. It shows how arrogant this national government have become. They think they can pay people large sums of money. They think that they can send debt collectors onto other people who aren't being paid at all. They can set the debt collectors onto them, but they're not willing to justify why it is that they paid $425,000 to the outgoing Secretary of Education, who incidentally had only actually been doing the job for about a year. That's a phenomenal amount of money. I think it was something like $1,600 a day of the time that she's actually been in the job that she got paid out. Well, I tell you what, it would have been a lot cheaper if Hekia Parada had gone, and something like 60% of New Zealanders, when polled by TV1, said Hekia Parada should be the one that should have gone. I absolutely agree with them on that. There is no accountability in this government. The person, because all of the decisions, all of the things that they are blaming Leslie Longstone for, they were all Hikia Parata's decisions. It was Hikia Parata that thought bigger class sizes was a good idea. It was Hikia Parata that initiated the school closures in Christchurch. It was Hikia Parata that decided to close Salisbury School. Hikia Parata signed off on Nova Pay. Hikia Parata is the one responsible.
Dr. Cam Calder.
Chairman, look, the government realises that the Nova Pay issue